Соответственно, от лица Российско-Сингапурского Делового Совета и наших партнеров Радиоэлектронного комплекса Государственной корпорации Ростех я рада приветствовать вас на нашем мероприятии. Сегодняшний вебинар будет посвящен ключевым вопросам развития распределенных R&D-центров и международная кооперация как в сфере научно-технических разработок, так и в области контрактного производства на сегодняшний день относится к числу актуальнейших тем. Международные ресурсы оказываются задействованными на всех этапах создания товаров и услуг, от разработки проекта до непосредственного производства и доставки конечному потребителю. Кроме того, совсем недавно мир столкнулся с новой глобальной угрозой, я, конечно, имею в виду коронавирус. И чтобы победить пандемию, люди во всем мире вынуждены соблюдать строгую изоляцию, что вынуждает нас снова задуматься о том, как мы можем эффективно развивать инструменты удаленного сотрудничества в современных условиях. Я не сомневаюсь, что наше сегодняшнее мероприятие внесет свой вклад в обмен международным опытом и будет способствовать развитию плодотворного и взаимовыгодного сотрудничества в данной сфере. Прежде чем дать слово нашим экспертам, я хочу обратить ваше внимание, что на сегодняшнем мероприятии ведется синхронный перевод. Для того, чтобы воспользоваться этой услугой, пожалуйста, нажмите на символ глобуса внизу экрана в его правой части, и вы сможете выбрать необходимый вам язык. И время каждого выступления составляет 10-15 минут. После каждого выступления вы сможете задать вопросы спикерам. Итак, для того, чтобы начать нашу сессию, мне хотелось бы предоставить слово нашему первому спикеру нашего вебинара, заместителю председателя, исполнительному директору Российско-Сингапурского Делового Совета Сергею Евгеньевичу Пронину.
Да.
Сергей Евгеньевич.
Да, слышно? Все. Алло, слышно, да?
Слышно.
Слышно.
Да. Добрый день. Я прежде всего хотел бы поприветствовать всех участников данного вебинара. Очень приятно видеть здесь близких друзей, партнеров. Отдельно хотел бы приветствовать всех гостей. Со своей стороны хотел бы обратить внимание на несколько ключевых вопросов. На сегодняшний момент, на сегодняшний день четко выражено глобальное распределение центров компетенций в части инжиниринга, в части производства. И в первую очередь это связано с абсолютно объективными причинами. Это стоимость рабочей силы, это квалификация, компетенция, соответственно, manpowers, это расположение объектов, промышленных инжиниринговых объектов географически, расстояние до ресурсов центров, расстояние до транспортно-логистических узлов и так далее. Соответственно, данное распределение в конечном итоге является причиной того, что большинство компаний по экономическим соображениям стремится к организации, выстраиванию межграничной, межнациональной кооперации, соответственно, по созданию конкурентного продукта, по созданию технологического продукта. Мы на площадке Российско-Сингапурского Делового Совета на протяжении уже нескольких лет активно участвуем в проектах создания отраслевых центров компетенции. И в частности, в нашем случае в качестве базовой площадки в регионе выбрали Сингапур для выстраивания кооперации между крупными серьезными региональными игроками в области электроники, в области программного обеспечения, создания программного обеспечения, в области обеспечения комплексных решений по безопасности, в области создания современных материалов, в области промышленного инжиниринга. Почему именно на эти направления мы акцентируем внимание? Исторически Российско-Сингапурский Деловой Совет представлял интересы крупных российских компаний, промышленных компаний. Соответственно, перечень и спектр функций, задач, продукции, которые производятся данными компаниями, достаточно широкие, от услуг до конечного финального продукта, от компонент, соответственно, до инженерных решений, до агрегационных и интегрированных решений, комплексных решений. Целый ряд задач экономически эффективно решать, соответственно, в кооперации с профильными центрами, профильными компаниями за рубежом. Если говорить про Юго-Восточную Азию, ну, наверное, согласитесь, что целый ряд технологически интересных ключевых направлений сконцентрирован на сегодняшний момент в Азии. Отдельное внимание заслуживает на сегодняшний момент технологический бум фактически и прорыв инжиниринговых компаний Китая. Все прекрасно знают и понимают, какой серьезный потенциал на сегодняшний момент технологически накоплен в Малайзии. Что из себя представляет Тайвань, Корея, Япония. Соответственно, для того, чтобы эффективно решать задачу кооперации и взаимовыгодного сотрудничества, необходимо использовать нейтральные территориальные локации. В частности, Сингапур мы рассматриваем как и политически нейтральную локацию, как комфортную территорию для выстраивания такого рода кооперации. Практическим примером нашей работы является тот факт, что за последние 2 года мы достаточно масштабно развернули на площадке Сингапура представление в формате Digital Experience Center, в формате физического представления продуктов, технологический шоурум российских технологий, российских компаний. Одновременно с представлением технологических решений, с представлением финальной продукции, мы достаточно серьезное внимание на сегодняшний момент уделяем развитию инжиниринговых направлений. И на сегодняшний момент в нашем центре представлены достаточно интересные и уникальные технологические решения, о которых, если будет интерес, мы отдельно расскажем и позднее обратить на это внимание руководитель этого центра. Вот Винни Тео, она сейчас присутствует, соответственно, здесь и будет выступать в качестве спикера. Важный очень момент взаимодействия, выстраивания взаимодействия не только на уровне бизнеса, не только на уровне инженерных компаний, но и особое внимание мы уделяем сотрудничеству на университетском уровне, на уровне учебных центров, на уровне инженерных лабораторий. Мы достаточно долго и внимательно рассматриваем все возможные варианты решения, по которым предлагают региональные университеты. Мы имеем достаточно долгие отношения с ключевыми университетами и центрами в регионе. Возвращаясь к текущим сложностям, с которыми столкнулись на сегодняшний момент все страны в условиях пандемии, в условиях закрытия границ, мы на сегодняшний момент активно, очень серьезное внимание уделяем, конечно же, инструментам, цифровым инструментам. Одним из проектов, который мы развиваем и который мы совместно развиваем с нашими партнерами из Сингапура, компания Vicargo Cloud, она сейчас присутствует, Дезмонд Тей будет выступать в качестве спикера в данном мероприятии. Мы совместно с компанией Vicargo Cloud развиваем цифровую платформу, B2B-платформу, на которой на сегодняшний момент представлено порядка уже 90 тысяч компаний из 25 стран мира. Серьезнейшим блоком данной программы, функциональным блоком данной платформы является блок транспорта и логистики, который представлен полном объеме представлена компанией Cargo Cloud за счет интеграции с платформой Camel One. Наличие такого рода цифровых решений позволяет преодолеть территориальные, географические сложности, с которыми порой сталкиваются производственные компании, которые сталкиваются инжиниринговые компании. Соответственно, и наличие неструктурированных, неоптимизированных сервисов на сегодняшний момент существенно снижает конкурентоспособность конечного продукта. Наша платформа позволяет нам не только формировать предложения по технологическим и товарным позициям, но и одновременно получать запросы с рынка. И фактически мы через наши инструменты реализуем функционал контрактного производства. На сегодняшний момент, возвращаясь опять к текущей ситуации, с чем мы столкнулись, те вызовы, с которыми столкнулась каждая страна, потребовала оперативно, быстро решать задачи по поставке дефицитных решений на локальные рынки. Благодаря нашей платформе мы имели возможность в очень короткие сроки найти поставщиков, найти контакты с крупными производственными компаниями, выбрать конкурентный продукт и выстроить кооперацию, как, соответственно, по поставкам оборудования технологического, так и по кастомизации этого оборудования под наши требования. Соответственно, эта цепочка в полной мере реализована, и благодаря, скажем так, и вопреки ситуации мы накопили уникальный и серьезный опыт по работе в такого рода сложных условиях в формате международного сотрудничества. Важным моментом является и то, что, чтобы обеспечить конкурентоспособность, необходимо четко, постоянно контактировать с рынком. Статистика запросов, статистика требований, которые приходят к нам на платформу, позволяет нам проанализировать, соответственно, потребности рынка и позволяет нам гибко и оперативно формировать и готовить предложения для потенциальных заказчиков и в текущей ситуации, и, в принципе, в перспективе. Я на этом, наверное, остановился. Если какие-то вопросы будут, я отдельно отвечу на них. И хотел бы передать слово остальным спикерам. Спасибо большое за внимание.
Дамы и господа, напоминаю, что вы можете задать вопросы каждому спикеру после его выступления. Нашего следующего спикера по праву можно отнести к числу ведущих в Азии экспертов в сфере инновационных медицинских технологий. Слово предоставляется господину Эккаи, председателю и основателю компании Юкрест Бернхард и Key ASIC Benhad.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me, okay. So I'll bring up my, I'll share the screen. Hold on, give me 1 second. Oh, so I cannot share the screen, it was disabled.
Чтобы начать демонстрацию экрана, пожалуйста, нажмите внизу экрана соответствующий символ рядом со значком чата.
Yes, I did. It shows up host disable participant screen sharing. That means the host has disabled me to share the screen. So the host has to enable me to share the screen.
Сейчас мы решим этот вопрос. Одну секунду.
Thank you.
Okay.
Теперь мы можем видеть ваш экран. Точнее, мы видим вас. Теперь вы должны включить демонстрацию экрана.
Screen now. Thank you. Okay, you see my screen now? Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you very much, Drobadine. Anna just introduced me as the medical expert, but today I'm going to talk about actually the chip design business, which is more relevant in this case of the Rostech and also the companies associated with Rostech. Sorry, are you following the translation, or do you want me to slow down? All right, thank you very much. Yeah, you sound very familiar. All right, so I'm going to talk about the distributed R&D centers, which is the topic here. Under this forum that we have, the RSBC webinar. So to start off, let me just briefly give you a little bit of my own personal background. So you see on the screen here, I'm a director of the RSBC. I've been working with Dr. Pronin for some time, for the last few years since this has started. I have founded several companies. One of those medical company, online medical called US. I've also founded a company called TASIC that's in the chip semiconductor business. I also have an investment company where we make investment to startup or to big companies, depending on the stage of the company. I was also the CEO for wafer fab that's making chips called Silterra for a couple of years. So I also have the manufacturing experience. Along with that, I started my career in Silicon Valley as a design engineer working for the companies there. Later on, I moved out to Taiwan. I was there for several years, heading the Asia Pacific business, and also set up not just the sales and marketing offices, but I also set up the R&D centers. So in my career, even 20-some years ago, I have been setting up R&D centers, which is a topic here, 20-some years ago in the Asia Pacific region. So I actually have set up 3 centers in the region. So I have one in Taiwan, one in Singapore, and also one at a time in India. These are the R&D centers that develop products, that develop our software. So I have quite a bit of experience in the last 20-some years, 27 years, I've been staying here in Singapore. And I have, even for my own company, I have a distributed R&D center, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so to understand R&Ds, this is the thing that I like to share with you. There are actually 3 pieces of it that you can look at in terms of the R&D. So these are 2 pieces here. One is the fundamental research. In this example that I show here is particularly for artificial intelligence. So the terms here that's used are all related to artificial intelligence. So it's something that's trendy. All right, it's for AI. So on the left, you have these are the research area topics under AI that's related to fundamental research. For example, the GCNN. CNN is convoluted neural network. You can see also somewhere in the middle here, you have the neural network compression, deep degenerative models, hybrid reinforcement learning. All these terms very much in the AI space for the fundamental research. And they're very much based on, for AI here in this particular case, is very much based on the basic science or mathematics. In this case, it's actually very much mathematics. The fundamental research of AI is actually mathematics. Now, then on the right side, then you have, once you have the fundamental research work done on this technology that you're trying to develop, then you want to apply it in the specific application. Now, in the context of AI, even though that's called the applied research here, in fact, there's more layers on top of that. But just for the simplicity here, I'm just going to talk about fundamental and applied research. So meaning like once you have the technology, how do you apply that? Of course, you need to develop additional technology to use that fundamental technologies that you have. So for example, here, what is commonly known in the AI world is deep learning for graphics specifically. And in terms of using AI to do power management, for example, right? These are all the applications that's related to the fundamental research technology that you already developed, and now you try to apply that. For example, another one that's very commonly used is video recognition and prediction. So AI is used a lot in the prediction and video recognition and image recognition. These are the hottest topic today. In fact, our company spent the last 4 or 5 years doing the similar work. And of course, the application that we do is just one out of a million applications that's out there, right? So that's the two categories that you have, the fundamental research and then the applied research. So I like to call it, when you do the fundamental research, is, you know, the word R&D, right? Research and development. Or fundamental research is a big R, right? The small research and a small D, very small component of development. In the applied research, you have a big D and then small R, right? Big development and then less of a research work, right? That you're just developing things that will use the research fundamentals that has been developed, all right? So that's the third component. There's a third component in the research and development world. That is, once you have the development of this fundamental technology already done, you already have the application that's already done for this technology. Usually this product is generic enough, general enough that can be applied anywhere in the world. However, every country has its own uniqueness. Every location, even every customers have their own uniqueness. So that this call for localization. So it's called the localization of R&D, right? So if you look at the, this is the third component of the R&D. So if you look at all these three components, the fundamental research work is very much done by a bunch of scientists, right? These are the scientists that sit in the back room, do a lot of research, you know, do a lot of study on the paper, whatever the technology is very much computer science or electronics or medical, whatever that is. When you go on to do the application of the research work, then you got to associate the technology that you develop to the world. How do you use it in the world, right? Use it in the customer base, right? So again, that is still a study based on a market study. Now, you have a product that, for example, you have developed in Russia, in specifically maybe Leningrad or Moscow. Now, if you want to deploy this to another part of the world, say, for example, in Asia here, or in India, or in Europe, now the usage, the application might be totally different. Number one, you have to change the language, right? Whatever that you have designed, developed for Russian, if you use it here in Singapore, then you need to have the English language enabled, right? So that's a big piece of it also. The flow specifically, for some products that you want to develop, the flow might be totally different. The business process might be different. One example is, let's say this is a healthcare product or software for healthcare. The healthcare are very regulated. So the practice here in a hospital here might be totally different from the hospital in Russia or in Moscow, right? So there's this component where you actually have to localize the product. So these are some of the areas that you need to localize when you localize the product. So localizing the product for the local market based on, now this is specifically talking about when you built the R&D centers for localization, right? You have built R&D center for fundamental research. You have built R&D center for applied research and development. And here it is, you built R&D center for localization of your product. And based on the input of the customer, typically these are the input from the local market. You take that and then you customize the product, touch and look and feel, or whatever that is, right? The flow might be all different, right? The industry, if it's a B2B product, might be different also, right? So this is the third component. Basically, if you look at the R&D centers, the work that is done, as you get closer to the customers, it gets further and further away from the basic fundamental research science work that you have done, right? You get closer to the customer. Another way to look at it is actually a productization process, right? You have scientists, engineers, top-notch engineers doing great development work, but hey, that's the fundamentals. You need to use it, fit it into application, whether it's fitting into a factory or a hospital or a school. That's the application part. AI can be used in many places, right? And then when you take it out to a local market, then you got to have the localization part. So the topic here talking about the distributed R&D, this is one big area as a company grow internationally, right? If you're building a product for the local market, that's fine. And local market, that's all you do, that's perfectly fine. But the minute you start going out of your country or even for your region, then the product needs to be localized, needs to be more universal. Universal in this case actually means more globalized and localized, right? So this is a third component. So when you organize your R&D centers, these are the main criteria that you have to start looking at right at the beginning. Am I doing the fundamental research in this R&D center, or am I doing the localization, or am I doing the application part of it? Why is it important? Because the people that you're going to hire is different. The work that's going to be done on the center is different. And it also has to fit into your company's global strategy of distributed R&D centers, right? You don't want to take your scientists that's doing all the fundamental work and ship them here in Singapore to do the localization work. It wouldn't fit, right? And you cannot also hire a guy who is doing UI, user interface, and put the guy in a team that's doing the fundamental research. So this is actually very important because of the time. So I actually keep it very simple so that we can give you a flavor of this, yeah? Then the next step to look at this is, all right, so you have this. These are some of the indices, right, that you should look at when you try to decide on how to organize your distributed R&D centers. On the left side, you have this, what they call the Innovation Input Index. So these are the things, these are the parameters, if you will, that you should look at and trying to decide what are you trying to do, right? These are some of the criteria that you need to look at in terms of selecting even the local R&D center. Which country should you do it? Where should you do it, right? Then the other thing that you want to look at is from this center that you're trying to set up for R&D, what are you trying to get out of it? So you have this so-called the output index, right? Innovation output index. I won't go through all of this items here, but briefly I can go through some of the categories here. On the left side, in the Innovation Input Index that you have here, one component is institution, which is, well, there are three components down here. One is the political environment, right? Regulatory environment, that means the regulation, how business friendly are the country's regulation that is set up, right? Condition for business provided by public institution, meaning, you know, the government agency, the schools, then the entire government infrastructure. Do they have all the necessary components, all the necessary institution, regulatory institution to be business friendly, to help you, to allow you to, for example, if you need to have some experts coming from Russia, is it easy for you to bring them over and work for 2-3 years and help to build the team here or help to lead the team here to get started? So these are all important criteria. So government regulation is very important. Some countries are not very friendly in importing or bringing in foreign experts. They're not used to doing it. And Singapore is very good at doing that, right? So you find that there are many people here. Human capacity, do they have the talents that you need, right? Do they have the people that you need? Do they have enough R&D people that you want to hire? So that's very important. Education, I mean, do they have a good school, good universities here? The quality of education, and also the engineers, are they innovative, right? ICT infrastructure, these are very important, right? Do they have internet that's fast enough? Do they have these things that you want to make? If you want to make some samples of some electronics product, are there companies here to help you to do that? The infrastructure, the entire ecosystem are very important. Then the next thing is that banking, right? Financing, banking, you got to have that, right? Some country takes some days to even clear a payment, then it becomes a hindrance to the business, even though it's R&D center, right? So these are all important index that you should look at, right? Then the next thing is the output, right? That's a scientific part, that is also the creative part. The scientific output is the creation of knowledge, right? The application of knowledge, and then also the ability to export that, right? So these are the some of the parameters or indices that you should look at. Singapore being a place where it was designed right at the beginning, about 40 years ago, maybe even longer than that, when the country started, the government cautiously put effort in attracting companies to set up here as a regional hub, right? Not just a regional hub for manufacturing or for operation, but also R&D. So over the years, if you work with the Singapore government agency, they actually provide a lot of incentives, tax incentive, grant for R&D. So there are all kinds of incentives, and they do not discriminate much of whether you are a foreign company or local company. So Singapore is actually ideal location for a R&D center, which you can find many of the foreign companies, whether it's European, Japanese, American companies, or even Chinese companies that are here, right? Taiwanese company, they're here. So that's the next level of detail that you should look at when you try to make the decision. Now, let me just give you some examples of some of the companies, how they actually set up the R&D center. So I got this slides from Huawei somewhere on their PowerPoint deck on the internet. So if you look at the strategy that they have, how they set up the design center, of course, the core, the fundamental R&D team is in Shenzhen in China, right? They develop chips for the 5G, which is a big thing now. They have done the 4G chip. They have done the routers and all that stuff, the telecom products right at the beginning. They develop the system, software. All those are actually done in Shenzhen, the headquarters, the main R&D center. Now, they also have many centers out there. So if you look at that, there's one in Silicon Valley, which because of the political situation with Huawei by the US government, this was actually closed down. They got the closed down. There's also up in Canada, and also there's one in Europe and India, obviously. In fact, they also have one in St. Petersburg, for some of you who know that, but it was quite well-kept secret there in St. Petersburg. But the strategy for them, because they're making phone-making network product, so their decision to set up R&D center is actually localization, right? Customer-oriented type of input, localize a product. If you're making a phone, obviously you got to localize with the language, with the software, with the people who loads the app. Some countries use certain apps, certain countries use different apps, right? And you got to make sure that all those pieces work together. So that's the strategy that they have when they go out and actually deploy the set up the R&D centers. Now, one of the things that I know of is not part of this strategy, so they actually have some secret strategy also beyond this. They have, like I said, they have actually 1,000 people in Russia doing R&D, and that team is, I will talk about this on the next slide, that's used by us, is actually tapping on the talent, the expertise, the scientist knowledge of these people. So the in the context of the R&D center in Russia, set up by Huawei, was actually doing research and development on RF, right? Radio frequency wireless stuff. Okay, you know, phone, you need a good component of it is RF, right? And Russia has a lot of wireless technology expertise, right? These are very much mathematics and basic science. But, you know, because Russia is the biggest country in the world, so all these years, they have been developing a lot of, you know, any communication that they have has to be wireless, right? So the wireless expertise in Russia is probably #1 in the world. So they're tapping into it. So, but that is actually not written here on the map. So you notice there's no star in Russia, right? But that's where it is. Okay. And the next one is my own company, K-Stick. This is a semiconductor company. So where do we have R&D? You know, chip business is slightly different from the rest of the business because chip business doesn't really used by the end user. It's used by some system design company where they buy our chips, put it. It's very much B2B. It doesn't go to B2C at all, right? In fact, even the B part of it is also very high-end designer who use the chips, select the chips. We work closely in terms of designing their systems together. So the nature of it is slightly different. But having said that, there's still a lot of the input that's required from the customers. But our goal when we set up, or our strategy when we set up the R&D center, we're looking for expertise. We're looking for talent. Not every country has this talent pool or this expertise. So if I need, just like the Huawei story I told you, right? They need RF, so they go to Russia. Right, they go to Russia and hire these people who are good there, who train them, right? So in our case, the same thing. So on the left, if you look at this, we have the US R&D Center, not a big team, but it's a core team that has the core technology, the innovative part of the technology, right? And Silicon Valley, by the name of it, is semiconductor, right? So our company doing semiconductor, that's the place that, you know, you got to have a tap into it, right? So that's where it is. Now, we also have the R&D center in Taiwan and now China as well. And because China and Taiwan is the center for the manufacturing of semiconductor, other than ability to design, you have to make sure that the technology for manufacturing is also there, right? So now, Taiwan obviously is the #1 in terms of the semiconductor manufacturing in the world, right? Have the latest, greatest technology of manufacturing. Of course, there's very, very heavy R&D, billions of dollars, literally, to develop a technology there, right? So other than that, again, you know, we tap on the talent pool. In India, there's no hardware there, right? Hardware is not strong. So it's software that's strong. So we set up centers there. This center is actually not our center. We outsourced this to an R&D center that we exclusively used. Then in the context of Singapore and Malaysia, there's more application oriented, right? Singapore and Malaysia also have manufacturing that's good. So we do that here more on an application of the applied R&D, so-called, but it's also tied to the manufacturing in Singapore, Malaysia, that's also test and packaging, and also the wafer fab manufacturing. Now, we are in the process of setting up one in Russia, in Zelenograd. You know, in Zelenograd, there's some fabs there, right? So we have the center there mainly to actually transfer the technology there and to localize the technology in Russia. So if you look at the the setup here, the criteria of setting up is very much driven by the talent pool, right? The expertise that I need to have. If that country, that location is famous or rich of this talent, then we want to be there so that we can get the top-notch talent in the world, right? So that then you have a product that's in the world class because it's done by the world class people, and the product can be actually competitive, right? So if you don't do that, this is very much across the world, any major country, even small companies, big companies, they do that now, right? Especially if you are in the leading edge technology, you want to find the best people that is doing this at the time, right? Usually for a leading edge technology, there are not that many groups of people doing it worldwide. So this talent is not easily accessible. Like for example, 5G, if you want to do 6G, you can almost forget about starting it from scratch. You have to tap into Huawei's team in China. You have to tap into MediaTek in Taiwan. You have to tap into Korea, Samsung. This is the third one. And of course, Qualcomm in the US. There are only 4 teams in the world that do 5G today or successfully achieved doing 5G. So you want to jump into do 5G, you better get some of these guys, right? If not, you don't even know where to start. So that's how this thing works. All right. Lastly, this is my last slide. So I have been participating in, with the, I'm honored to be invited to give talk on and off whenever I am in town or at the right time. So these are some of the events that I participated in the past. You got the Rostech CEO, Chimisaw was here 3 or 4 years ago. You also have your Deputy Prime Minister was in the microelectronics seminar or event in Crimea for the last 2 years. And he was also here in Singapore some years back. So there are many events that I participated, and unfortunately this time we have to do it online. Otherwise, I would be very, very happy to meet some of you. That's all I have. Is there any questions?
Господа, если вопросов к нашему спикеру нет, то тогда мне хотелось бы передать слово следующему нашему эксперту, но нам необходимо сделать небольшую подготовку к его выступлению. Наш специалист, который обеспечивает техническую поддержку, сейчас запустит презентацию. И пока мы этим занимаемся, я хотела бы напомнить нашим уважаемым спикерам о том, что у нас действует ограничение по времени для каждого выступления, оно составляет 10-15 минут. И я хотела бы попросить наших уважаемых экспертов по возможности придерживаться этих временных рамок. Также хочу напомнить, что в рамках конференции Zoom действует чат. Для того, чтобы увидеть чат, пожалуйста, нажмите на соответствующую иконку внизу вашего экрана. И с правой стороны экрана вы увидите групповой чат Zoom. Там вы сможете увидеть сообщение от модератора, задать модератору вопрос или же написать частное сообщение любому из участников конференции. Соответственно, передавая слово нашему следующему эксперту, я хочу сказать, что значительная часть инновационных технологий, которыми мы сегодня пользуемся, была создана научными коллективами лучших мировых университетов. И к числу таковых, безусловно, относится Российский технологический университет МИРА. И я с радостью предоставляю слово его президенту, академику Российской академии наук, заслуженному деятелю науки Российской Федерации Александру Сергеевичу Сигову.
Thank you very much, Anna. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. Comparing to presentation given by Dr. Yi, my talk is much more narrow because my idea is to represent our university as maybe as new possible player in this university research and development cooperation between Russia and Singapore, and maybe even wider. So I shall speak a little about the university itself, and then maybe some data on our cooperation of our university with other universities in different countries. Thank you very much. I begin. Oh, sorry. It does not move. Oh, yes, thank you.
Пожалуйста, говорите, когда вам нужно переключить слайды, потому что демонстрацию экрана ведет наш специалист.
Спасибо, хорошо. It's general view. Our university is created on the platform of former Moscow Institute of Radio Engineering, Electronics and Automation, and two other universities merged, Moscow University of Fire and Chemical Technologies and Moscow State University of Information Technologies. So we have several campuses in Moscow and Moscow region, and one branch in the south of Russia, in Stavropol. So the square meters which are related to our different campuses in Moscow and Moscow region, and the student dormitories and so on. Maybe it's not very important, but it's only demonstration of the scale. For Russia, our university is fairly big. Следующий, пожалуйста. Fairly big. Here are faculty staff of the university, and you see that it is 2,000 and a half, approximately, even more. And what I will stress here, the idea of our university was to connect, to join research, academy, and industry. So we created more than 40, we call them base departments. What is this? These departments are created in industrial enterprises, in research institutes of Russian Academy of Science, and so on. So we have a group of, we find a group of people, good specialists in industry or in research institute, and they become our professors. The head of the institute, or maybe his deputy head, became head of the department, and students, after basic courses of mathematics, chemistry, physics, and so on, spend more and more time in this department. It is a group, each year it's a group from 5, 6 to 20, 25 people who spent about 2-3 days, and to the end of study, maybe 4 days, in this industrial enterprise or in the research institute. And great specialists, first experts in their field, give student lectures, and the group is very small, so it's easy to touch every member of such a group. So to understand what does he think about this or that, how it understand the material and so on. To my opinion, it's the best form of training specialists, because people, students know scientific disciplines like physics, mathematics, and then they are in close contacts with specialists. They spend more and more time in this industrial or research institution, and they see how research or industrial process is moving, and on the other side, their colleagues can understand, is this student good or bad for future work? So it's maybe the main background of our university, and we are not the first in this field. The first was Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology in Dolgoprudny. The second one was Novosibirsk University after creation of Siberian branch of Russian Academy of Sciences. And we are the third. From 1967 we began this work and this cooperation. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is enrollment. Each year, last 3 years, we have about 7,000–8,000 freshmen in the university, and the general exam score is increasing. You can see it. Now it's about 90, and the top is 100. So we have good students from not only from Moscow but from different regions of the country, having dormitories. So we can organize a comparison between students for going to this or that specialty for the future. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is a short description of our educational programs. This is for on-campus students. This is for evening time students who work and study in the evening. This is for distant education for students who arrive at the university only twice a year for having exams and some laboratory training and so on. And the total number is about this. And we have more than 300 of PhD students, many master degree programs and many masters. So it's a wide society which have, as Dr. Yi told, we can choose good, talented students and then introduce them into our laboratories, and not only our, but in institutions of the Academy of Science and in the industry. Следующий, пожалуйста. Я ускоряюсь, времени нет. These are structural characteristics, and we have more than 1,000 students from other countries, and also our students go to Taiwan, to Italy, to France, to Japan, to China, and so on. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is also very useful. All our programs have quality system management, and not only Russian but international system of education quality management. So it is internationally recognized. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is different sources of our budget, but not only the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, but also the atomic energy, Rosatom, then Roscosmos, and other important industrial partners which give us some part of their budget. Следующий, пожалуйста. And in our laboratories, the priority and well-developed research and development areas are given here. You can see security and terrorism, and robotics, transport and space systems, including this big installation for transport control, for railway, for cars, and so on. Пожалуйста, следующий. And the next slide, it is focus of research and activity in our university. And you see, this is a lot of areas, from intelligent control systems to laser technologies, microwave photonics, mechatronics, and so on. And we have a lot of laboratories included in these training and research and development activity. Следующий, пожалуйста. These are some examples of these laboratories. we call them mega laboratories in the framework of our university. So it's not only research, but also training of students and training of students of high school. Следующий, пожалуйста, сейчас прям подряд несколько покажем. Вот это, this is the also mega laboratory for modeling and processing of big data. Следующий. This is innovative technologies in medicine, radiological devices and systems. This is industry 4.0. Следующий, пожалуйста. Это вот, this is for space research and students training, very big center, and it has a long history, more than 25 years, and the first communications between our station, space station, long ago, was made from this center, not from energy company, not from others, but from this center where several of our cosmonauts worked for a long period of time. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is also laboratory of digital geospatial data processing, and it's also very effective and give a lot of data, not only for the university and for training, but for other institutions in Moscow and not only in Moscow, which use our results. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is engineering, one of the example of engineering center. There are several of such center in our university, and this one is in microelectronics. As to me, I am not only the president of the university, but also the head of the department of nano electronics. And this is a part of our department, which is used not only students from the department, but from other institutions of the university. Следующий, пожалуйста. This is associations which we are member of, and international rankings. Of course, we are not on the first position, but the university is not old and with not a great history. So we are proud even of these positions which we take now, and we hope that very soon we'll move to the first 100 in these rankings. These are associations which also we take part in. And следующий, пожалуйста. We have 72 international partners from 31 countries, and these are different universities, our partners, not only in academic work, but of course in research. And to shorten time, I will resume here. Следующий, пожалуйста. You see here agreements of different scale in research, in development, and joint research, and so on, with different countries. И следующее, пожалуйста. These are rankings of our university in Scopus Citation Index and in Web of Science Core Collection Citation Index. You see that among universities, we take not a bad place. We are 9 with Moscow State University, Lomonosov University, and some other, MIFI and Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, and so on. And this is our data, also here, very similar. And the next slide, пожалуйста, следующий slide. It will be the last one. The geography of our cooperation. In Europe, we have most close relations with France, especially in Marseille, Lille, and Paris, École Centrale from these cities. And we have a joint laboratory in Lille, at École Centrale de Lille. It was established more than 20 years ago, and now we have very good results and hundreds of publications with the people from this École Centrale de Lille. In England, we have cooperation with Birmingham University and Imperial College. In Germany, with some universities and technical universities. In Switzerland, with Geneva University, and more close with École Fédérale Polytechnique de Lausanne in Lausanne. In Italy, Milano State University, Politecnica di Milano, and Torino, Politecnica di Torino, and Sapienza University in Rome. In the Netherlands, in Nijmegen, Czech and Slovak Republic. In Asia, very close relations with some universities in China, with some universities in Taiwan. And Taiwan is one of our main partners in research, development, and education. And Japan with Saitama University. In Australia, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. In USA, Georgia Tech, Montana University, Colorado State University, Penn State, and some others. So thank you very much for your attention. I apologize for wasting your time. Thank you.
Дамы и господа, я напоминаю, что вы можете задать вопросы спикеру после завершения выступления.
No questions.
Да, судя по всему, вопросов нет. Александр Сергеевич, большое спасибо за очень содержательную презентацию. И тему сотрудничества научного и делового сообществ продолжит наш следующий спикер, представитель Национального университета Сингапура. NUS по праву считается лучшим из университетов Сингапура и занимает верхние строчки мировых рейтингов. Итак, слово предоставляется директору Центра передовой робототехники Национального университета Сингапура, господину Марсело Ангу.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me share my slides. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. So I'd like to quickly share with you the ecosystem of R&D and enterprise development in Singapore, starting from Singapore, then ending with our university, which is a typical example of how a university influences this ecosystem. Okay, it started officially in early 1990s with a technology plan. Every 5 years, Singapore develops a technology plan for the next 5 years. And we are now in Enterprise 2020, and these are all in US dollars. So this governs the development of science and technology in Singapore. So Singapore is a relatively young country. Before 1990s, or it was the Science Council, but there's no formal technology plan yet, more a science plan, right? And this has, in the relatively short time from 1995 to today, it has improved. We have seen many results. This is an interesting research quality indicator where 1 means relative to the average of all, global average of all other countries, how much we have made impact over the years. Yep. Let me share you some details of the current 5-year plan, where there is a 19 billion budget for that. It's a 2020 framework. There are 4 technology domains, right, that are verticals, and horizontals are the capabilities, right, that will be multidisciplinary, that can feed into any of these 4 domains, right? There is academic research, more of the research of the technology readiness level 1 to 3. And there's building of manpower, training, basically. And finally, also the result of innovation and enterprise, meaning creating companies from their academic research, or licensing our technology, or partnering industry, right? So these cross-cutting programs can feed into these four technology domains, right? Okay. And this is how the 19 billion is divided. Notice that there is academic research and white space. This is 15 and 13%. These two are sort of blue sky research, are very open-ended. It's still a use-inspired research, but it doesn't require, it doesn't mean that you have to have a company or have a technology that is deployed within 5 or 10 years. It can be 20 or 30 years, but there must be something tangible, right? And besides this, this is done by our National Research Foundation. And under this wide space academic research, our Ministry of Education also provides research funding for us to do fundamental or basic research. I didn't include it here. The next slide shows some details of the what are the typical schemes under each domain, right? It can be given to PIs, right? Individual principal investigators, PI, to people, and that group would be under that PI, or it can be combination of many PIs. For example, programmatic grant can be something on autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, or mobility, where there may be many PIs working on different aspects of it. It's a program level. Or another way of funding is industry-aligned fund. This is a partnership with big companies to do pre-positioning. It's still research, but not quite ready to be deployed yet, but very soon to be deployed, maybe in the order of TRL, technology readiness levels 4 to 6 or 7, right? Pre-positioning. Yeah, and this is, I mentioned in the last row there, A-STAR is our agency, Science, Technology, and Research. Economic Development Board of Singapore has a charter to bring, to grow companies in Singapore and bringing multinational companies to come to Singapore. Here's an example of the private-public partnership that has been funded through this technology plan. This is with Rolls-Royce. These are called corporate labs, where there will be a company and a local university. These are some of the local universities. NTU is Nanyang Technological University, National University of Singapore, where I come from, etc. Right? For example, the focus of Keppel NUS will be applications in the marine and shipyard and offshore industry. Rolls-Royce will obviously be on aerospace. Semcor NUS will be on sustainability and environment. Applied Materials is on materials, and much more. And these are very big quantum fundings on the order of about $40 million US, given with the funding from government, funding from university, and funding from the corporation. This is strategic partnership with corporation on a 5-year life. And after 5 years, there's an option to renew for another 5 years. Another interesting way is a model called CREATE. Singapore is very good in acronyms, right? CREATE means Campus for Research Excellence and Technology Enterprise. The purpose of this is to bring top universities in the world to come to Singapore with the value proposition saying, if you come to Singapore, your results will be much faster to be developed by you coming to Singapore, because you can work with the top local universities in Singapore, and Singapore will be a living lab for you to test all your technologies. And this has been very successful. These are some examples of the CREATE models, partnerships with companies, with universities, and the funding is of the order of about US 40 million for 5 years, right? MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, is one of the first. We have several programs with MIT right now. One notable one that I'm personally involved is on future mobility, where the work on self-driving vehicles has been funded. Now, besides National Research Foundation and Ministry of Education, EDB, our Economic Development Board, has many incentives and schemes too. And the objective of EDB is to bring companies outside Singapore to make Singapore their local base, right? And also to grow industries. And these are some of the schemes, right? To be, for example, to be awarded a pioneer certificate, like you're the queen bee of this, or to encourage companies to embark in their own research, and the government will fund it, and to improve, do research on corporate entrepreneurship, meaning improve their own productivity within their own companies, right? Another organization different from EDB is Enterprise Singapore. This is sort of the other side of EDB. Enterprise Singapore is for startups, sorry about the typo, to grow local companies. So it's mainly for local companies. EDB is to bring foreign companies to Singapore that will help them grow. Once they come to Singapore, help them grow. Enterprise Singapore is to grow local companies and actually bring them out of Singapore. So in other words, they become offices in San Francisco, in China, in Sweden, etc. Right? And there are many schemes. So there's all of this, and you can Google search all these schemes from our website. It's quite easily accessible too. Another relatively new thing, because of the evolving world, right, into rapidly changing technology, there's something called Skills Future Singapore and Workforce Singapore, WSG. And these are available to any entity in Singapore, right, to train their employees, right? And it can also be used by the training providers like our universities to develop short courses up to formal degree programs that will train people. And this is also targeted towards mature workers, right? Not only young people, because of the evolving technology, evolving changes. Singapore feels they have to be very agile, right? Even you're trained in one field A, through the Skills Future Workforce Singapore, you can be trained quickly on field B and quickly be employed and valuable to Singapore, right? So this is the Singapore-wide. Now, I want to now talk about in our university itself, right? What are we doing to support this, right? Each university, this is not only mine, the other university too, Nanyang and SUTD and SIT, also have what an equivalent of a research office. This is what we call our university's research office. These are some of the things they do to help the Singapore, the NUS, our university community, meaning students and staff, to actively do research to benefit society, to make Singapore really a living lab, to try it. Of course, there are many funding opportunities that the Office of Deputy President, Research and Technology will issue to us on a regular basis. These are the different funding sources through the research newsletter you can do, and they will help facilitate, manage this, right? They also have funding for exchange fellowships for people who want to come to Singapore, right, to be a visiting professor in NUS. And they also involve in setting up research centers of excellence, right? In Singapore, this is not only in our university, but hosted at the university, but it's a center of excellence in Singapore, right? And they can have university level research institutes, corporate labs that I mentioned. They also have national level consortia. And very important, besides grad management, both internal and external, this office helps to ensure we are doing proper research. Research compliance and administration is very important. For example, privacy, and all the ethics if you involve human subjects. So this is actually a part of the Office of Research and Technology. Many universities will have this equivalent too, right? So this is not unique. We also have what's called NUS Enterprise, right? And this is really the Office of Research is more of the basic research, but we don't want to stop there. In line with Singapore, right? Singapore wants to not only do research, we want to create companies and create innovation. So we have our own NUS version, and this allows NUS students, not only staff, if they have any idea, NUS Enterprise will support it by giving you funding in exchange for ownership of the company, and you can be incubated in our own premises. We call them Block 71. For example, it's a long story why it's called Block 71. And there is also the Startup Runaway, and there's NUS Overseas Colleges. NUS Overseas Colleges is very interesting. This is an exchange program for undergraduates where they spend 6 months to 1 year in an overseas place. And this place has a NUS office or a college there. One is in Silicon Valley. They go there, they take courses in Stanford University or even Berkeley in California, but then on a part-time basis and full-time, they work in a company, in a startup in Silicon Valley to do internship, or they can just take courses in Stanford for 6 months, 1 semester. The next 6 months, they do internship full-time in the companies. So they can be away for 1 year. And I've noticed as a professor here, I see a distinct difference of students who have gone through the NUS Overseas College experience. They're very good, passionate, but they don't stop in science and technology. They want to do real start companies or license-led technologies. A very unique feature of Enterprise is, this is relatively new, is the Graduate Research Innovation Program to turn scientists into entrepreneurs. These scientists are mainly our PhD students, because before this, most of the focus is on staff like me, but now they add more to students, and they will provide 12-month support and guidance through these 4 different ways. And more importantly, they can provide funds of up to 100,000 Singapore dollars or US 71,000 by NUS in exchange for some case-to-case agreement on ownership or first non-exclusive or exclusive use of technology. Now I'm going to give you an example of something from my group. This is an example. It's called Bumblebee. Bumblebee is a group of undergraduates, not even PhD or master's students, who are very passionate about robotics, specifically marine robotics, right? And they participated in 2 robotics competitions. One is a robot submarine, one is a robotic boat. And I'm very happy, about 2 years ago, we got very good results. And you can see they all wear Bumblebee, the yellow shirts, right? And the gentleman on the right standing, second from the right, is our former Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore. And the one in black shirt is our NUS President standing, right? And so that's all of us. And so we're very happy. And they have now become BX Autonomous Systems. It's a startup. They have formed a startup, and I continue to advise them, right? And they still are in our university, even if they're already a company, under this NUS Enterprise scheme called GRIP, Graduate Research Innovation Program. And what's really nice is in this Graduate Innovation Program, right, they have already been started, and they already have companies, right, or clients. One company is a company in Thailand, actually doing underwater inspection, that they are building a robot for them, for example. So here is my last slide. These are just some of the examples, what NUS Enterprise working spaces. The hangar is interesting concept. This is in our university. The others are all the different Block 71 format. The one on the left, the 3 pictures on the left are in our university. We don't call it Block 71 because it's in our university. We call it the hangar because it's a place for working before the plane takes off, right? Before the company takes off. And this is another, the one on the right are 3 examples of off-site offices, usually in partnership with overseas colleges, but NUS overseas colleges, but not mandatory, right? And there's one in San Francisco, Jakarta, and also one in Singapore, separate from our university in Singapore. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Большое спасибо за выступление, за презентацию. И, честно говоря, я не удивлюсь, если после нашего сегодняшнего вебинара в Национальный университет Сингапура хлынет толпа российских абитуриентов, потому что то, о чем вы рассказываете, звучит действительно потрясающе. И наш следующий спикер также представляет Национальный университет Сингапура и имеет огромный опыт в сфере научно-технических разработок в сотрудничестве с крупными промышленными компаниями. Слово предоставляется профессору Нг Хау Йонгу, директору корпоративной лаборатории Sembcorp in US.
That's good because I mentioned a corporate lab. Hao Yong is a good example.
Yeah. Okay. I think the internet is a bit not very stable. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Hao Yong, a professor at the National University of Singapore, and also a director of the Sembcorp NUS Corporate Laboratory. So just now, my colleague, Professor Marcelo Ang, has given you a very comprehensive introduction of the research funding at the national level, and also all the different R&D initiatives at the National University of Singapore. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to introduce you what we do at Sembcorp MUS Corporate Laboratory. So earlier on, Professor Marcelo Ang has talked about corporate laboratory. So this is a research scheme funded by the Singapore National Research Foundation. All right, so this corporate laboratory is basically a collaboration between NUS and companies. So for my laboratory is Sembcorp, is my industry partner. So Sembcorp is a utility company in Singapore, based in Singapore, and it is listed in the Singapore Stock Exchange. It's one of the major companies in Singapore. And they are utilities company, means they have businesses in power generation, industrial wastewater treatment, waste management. And they have businesses in Singapore, China, and also Middle East countries. Now, so in this corporate program, the idea is that the National Research Foundation Singapore hope that we can partner closely with companies, because companies are the ones who are in the market. They know what are the challenges faced by the needs and challenges of different disciplines in the market. And professors are where we have all the brain knowledge. So by bringing these two parties together, they can leverage on each other. Companies can introduce problems to professors, and professors can use their brain to develop solutions from the laboratory all the way to translational solution. All right, so for Sembcorp NUS Corporate Laboratory, this is the vision. Basically, we want to be a center of excellence for innovation in energy, water, waste to resources that provides solutions to real-world problems, builds competitive advantage through technology, and support a sustainable future. So all the research activities has been closely discussed with the company, and it's all the research projects, basically they are related to the company's core businesses. And so in this case, Sembcorp is energy, water, and waste to resources. All right, so as mentioned earlier on by Professor Marcelo, corporate program is a 5-year program. We started in April 2016, and we will run to next year, 2021. And most likely will, due to the COVID, there was a slowdown in activities. So we are likely to extend the program for another year. Now, in terms of fundings, basically there are 3 parties. The major cash funding is from the Singapore National Research Foundation, and the company will also provide matching grant about 50-50, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio. And for company, it can be in cash or in kind contributions. So the whole program is about 60 million. and that is half of the cash is from company, about half is from the National Research Foundation. And NUS basically contributes primary in kind like laboratory space, professor's time, all this. Okay, so coming back to the core topics, we focus on power generation, waste to resources, and also industrial wastewater treatment. So energy, waste, and industrial wastewater are the three core businesses of Sembcorp. So of course, the question is, how do we link the interlinkage of all these various business activities? So from energy, we create waste, all right, especially incineration ash, combustion ash, and how do we extract resources and use it for industrial wastewater treatment and even construction material, right? So this is how we can link all this together. Now, in terms of the management, the COLLAB have a steering committee, we have a management committee, and the key people running the laboratories is the lab directors. So I represent the NUS part for the corporate, and we also have the director from the company. He's a chief technological officer from Sembcorp. And under the COLLAB program, we have a lab manager administrative, and under that, we have professors working on power, on industrial wastewater treatment, and waste to resources. So under the COLLAB corporate program, we have a total of 7 different research projects, all right? So for power generation, we look at the preventive and predictive maintenance of power plant. So basically, the projects PI, Principal Investigator, is a professor from Electrical and Computing Engineering. And the second project is on optimization of boilers to increase combustion efficiency and reduce emissions. And the professor is from Mechanical Engineering. And for the industrial wastewater treatment, we have 3 different projects, primarily looking at how to enhance industrial wastewater treatment, how to optimize the treatment processes through process optimization, and looking at zero liquid discharge technology. Okay, and you'll find that all these projects are targeting market not only for Singapore, and is in fact the solution are targeted for countries like China, all right, where there's a very strict specific regulations, particular to certain location in China. Now, for waste to resource projects, basically we have 2. One is extracting valuable components from combustion ash. And then the second project is looking at how do we use combustion, high valuable material extracted from combustion ash to build construction material including fast track volumetric construction. So in terms of the KPI or key performance index, what does the company want to get out of this corporate program? Because you have to bear in mind that they put in resources in terms of cash and in-kind. So companies are very, very specific about what they want to see for the outcome. So first is on the talent and capacity development. So we train researchers, engineers. So overall, we have about 41 researchers, 20 postdoc, and 21 research engineers. And at the same time, we train PhD, master students, and also undergrad through their research project. So that's the first part of the KPI. Now, because this is a corporate program, companies usually are not interested in paper publication, but professors want publication. So this is one of the, I would say, one of the key challenges. How do we manage the KPI, what the professors want versus company? Of course, professor also would like to have invention disclosure, IP, all right? But usually companies, what they want is technology that they can translate into application, where they can create values for the company. So companies are interested in patents. They are not interested in paper, especially at the initial stage. All right, so there's always a conflict of a direct conflict of interest. So how we manage that? We file the patent first before the professors start publishing all the papers. All right. So research impact in terms of publication, overall we have about 119 publications to date. And then IP, as mentioned earlier on, technology disclosure 11, patents 9, and new technology and products are 14. So these are all generated in about 4 years period. Okay, so so next I'm going to look at what are some of the patents that has been developed through these 4 years of R&D program. So that is where the value creation is being achieved. So basically translating R&D into new products and solutions. So for energy related, we have two patents. Okay, one patent already far looking at detecting or winding fault under online operation and electrical machine. So this is related to predictive maintenance. So for those who are familiar with power generation, how do we know a machine or a transformer or a motor is faulty? So the current solution is vibration. All right. So they, from big company like GE and other companies, they have ready solution where they install sensors and a program to detect vibrations of motor and transformer. So usually when you detect vibration, it is means the component is are already faulty seriously. Then you have a vibration. All right. So one of the solutions they develop is that to look at the current signature. Right, means that you can monitor the current signature, and from there you can way in advance know the condition of motors and transformers. So this is one of the patents that they have developed, and the second patent is looking at the monitoring of rotating electromagnetic machine, which is ongoing. The patent filing is ongoing. And in terms of technology development, basically the first patent they are already deployed into the field for the last technical validation, so including Sembcorp own power plant. PUB is the Singapore National Water Agency, so they put it into their big palm systems and other companies. All right, and then we also have a spin-off company under the NUS Grid program that Professor Marcelo introduced earlier on. So basically, the projected market size is, in Singapore alone is about 3.8 million, but worldwide is very huge, and they are targeting a motor using a very cheap solution to monitor the operating condition of the motor. Now, then the other technology development translation is related to industrial wastewater. So we have two patents being already filed, looking at the advanced treatment processes for industrial RO concentrate. And also we have developed a new ozone-based catalyst that has improved efficiency and achieved 30% savings on ozone consumption for the treatment processes. And then in terms of process optimization or industrial biological wastewater treatment, we have developed a hybrid model. So this is more like a machine learning, AI systems, and combining with the mechanistic model. It's not like a pure data analytical black box. So it's combining data analytics plus basic fundamental equation on biological treatment processes to optimize and predict the treatment performance of a certain wastewater. So at the end of the day, we can, based on the wastewater characteristic, we can know how the treatment system will work. All right. And then in terms of extracting high valuable products, basically they have developed quite a few different patents looking at extraction of high valuable minerals, for example, vanadium from a combustion ash, and also for activated carbon product, carbon black material from oil refinery waste. So they are actually also forming a startup company to promote this technology for industrial application. Now, in terms of fast-track construction, there's a few patents have been filed. 2 patents have been filed. So basically, it's a bit like now the modern construction method is like Lego, you know, like you prefab the component at the factory, and then you bring to the site, and then you can assemble them together for buildings. So these are the technology moving forward to increase productivity of construction. So one of the very important is building information management. How do you coordinate all the components? And one of the key challenges is this connection. How do you build high-rise building using quick prefab component, while at the same time achieve high strength, high tall-rise building? So they have developed technology how to interlock all these components safely, and you don't have to do the interlocking construction exterior of the building. You can do it inside the component. So that not only increase the productivity, but also enhance the safety of construction. All right. So with this, thank you very much for your attention, and I welcome any question that you may have.
Большое спасибо за презентацию. Уважаемые гости, напоминаю, что вы можете задать спикеру свои вопросы после выступления. Ну, как я понимаю, вопросов нет. Что ж, сегодняшний мир невозможно представить без высокоразвитых инфокоммуникационных технологий, и Сингапур, безусловно, принадлежит к числу мировых лидеров в этой области. И одним из ведущих в Сингапуре и вообще в Юго-Восточной Азии провайдеров решений в данной сфере является компания Vicargo Cloud. Компания специализируется, в частности, на решениях в области торговли и логистики. И сейчас я хотела бы предоставить слово генеральному директору компании Vicargo Cloud, господину Дезмонду Тею.
Good afternoon and good evening to everyone. Let me start by sharing my screen first. Okay, you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Thank you very much. So after hearing so many presentations from the earlier experts from both Russia and Singapore, which actually spoke a lot about the R&D framework infrastructure for R&D. My presentation is a little bit different. I don't really want to talk about the focus on the research and development, but more on the other end in terms of how can we actually take the commercialized applications of all the research and development work done and bring it to the market. This is where my focus for today's presentation will be. Just now, Dr. Pronin, during his opening presentation, he talked about collaboration between RSBC and VCC, looking at how can we actually bring products, especially products which is of technology applications from the region of EAEU to the rest of the world. We have been collaborating for the past couple of years, and we start off the collaboration by looking at a marketplace, very much a B2B, not the Taobao or the Amazon kind of marketplace, but very much for commercial, a B2B kind of marketplace. And it's not about just buying and selling, but addressing issues like how do you manage logistics? As you know, logistics is a very important component in terms of trade, in terms of the cost of your products to the end consumers. Not only that, we also address issues like, for example, compliance. Certain products will require certain compliance from the importing countries, and how can we actually use a digital platform using digitalization to solve these problems. And this had been a collaboration between VCC and RS Trade House, which is a subsidiary of RSBC, for the past 2 years. Today, I'll talk a little bit more further to look at beyond just compliance with the customs and regulatory requirements, beyond logistics, to the area of trade financing, which is also a very critical or important component within the whole trade ecosystem, because you have manufacturers who actually manufacture products, sell it overseas. You expect to be paid. And how will this payment comes in? And how can you have assurance that the buyers actually gets the products that they want? This is the whole ecosystem of trade finance. Trade finance is not new. It's been around for decades, but it's actually performed in a very traditional way. And how, with all the digital economy, with all the digitalization that is going on, how does it actually impact on trade finance? This is the topic that I would like to share with all the audience here today. If you look at the landscape of trade itself, it's a huge market. We are talking about 16 trillion US dollars of international trade going on annually. And among that, the trade finance revenue itself is about 23 billion worldwide. But it's still, as I mentioned just now, a very paper-intensive operations. Typically, a single transaction when you export your product to the importing countries will require about 30 to 35 paper documents, whether sending it to the finance companies, the shipping companies, to customs. These are all the documents that you actually need to send. And it's very, very extensive. So where is the industry heading towards to then? This is where we are actually introducing, or the industry is actually introducing on a digitalization for the trade finance industry, talking about a platform. Of course, banks are actually one of the sector that actually heavily invest on ICT solution. Is digitalization for banks is also nothing new to them. But taking on a industry approach, going beyond just that specific bank, bringing in the whole ecosystem into trade finance. This is where we see that the future of digitalization for trade finance is going to be. So I'm going to introduce to you how Singapore actually does the digitalization of trade finance via a platform we call the NTP, Network Trade Platform. Network Trade Platform is a platform that is introduced by Singapore Customs and MAS, one of the supporting government agency. And they have a very interesting concept, as in they bring in technology partners to build solutions on top of NTP. VCC, our company, is actually one of the service provider, and one of the solutions that we actually introduced here is actually a trade finance portal. This is a portal where a trader who requires trade finance solution, whether is it a letter of credit for exportation, invoice financing, receivable financing, they will actually comes to this portal to subscribe for such a service. And through here, we actually work with different banks. At the moment, we actually have 9 banks working with us. And we actually links back directly to the bank's back-end systems using standard protocols like Swift messages. This is nothing exciting, this is nothing new. But what is exciting here is bringing in the whole ecosystem, as I mentioned just now, because typically when the traders goes to the banks for financing, you will need documents, trade documents, like for example, bill of lading from the shipping companies. If it's an export, you requires the certificate of origin, you requires your invoices, purchase orders, all kind of documents. And these documents actually originate from different parties. And currently, how does traders or exporters get financing? They provide all these paper documents to the banks. which actually causes a few key problems, which I will elaborate later on. But with the platform itself, the stakeholders of all this ecosystem actually connects to the platform directly through the NTP, which means that you have shipping lines, like for example, MERS, Evergreen, or freight forwarding companies. You actually submit all these documents digitally, electronically to the platform. Likewise, for government agencies like customs, chambers of commerce, who actually provide all these digital documents over to the platform. And this actually eliminates a lot of manual interaction between the traders and the banks. And it's not only about efficiency. And as I mentioned, these documents are submitted to the banks electronically, and in return, the banks also submit the response, like for example, the approvals, the letter of credit in the digital format back to the NTP platform. And that actually closes the entire loop of this trade finance ecosystem. And just like I mentioned about this other stakeholders that actually comes in to provide invoices and BL. This is actually the essential part of this whole trade ecosystem, because the current practices of the paper-intensive processes of submitting these documents is not only about efficiency, but one of the key areas is actually fraud, because there's a lot of trade finance fraud. Perhaps you might have heard of the recent cases of some of the oil trading fraud that actually appears in Singapore. And previously, there are similar cases as well. All these frauds are because of paper documents that can be easily fraud by the traders. And with technology, this could actually solve the problem. This is the application of one of the emerging technology, which is actually blockchain, and using blockchain to actually provide a more secure environment for the trade economy. And one example is actually the digitalization of the certificate of origin. In this example, our platform, which is Camel One, actually provides a electronic certificate of origin solution. In fact, we are actually the first in the world to actually introduce blockchain for certificate of origin. And using blockchain, apart from probably most of you all is aware about the attribute of a blockchain being a distributed ledger, inherently is resistant to modification of data. These are the applications that actually, these are the characteristics that actually fits very well for this particular application. To provide a certificate that is actually immutable, people cannot modify. It can be distributed into other people's systems for their own application as well. And essentially, this is how it works. I will not go into detail, but with the exporter applying the CO digitally, a digital certificate instead of a paper certificate is actually being distributed to the recipient. And as I mentioned, one of the key benefits of having a digital certificate here is the ability to prevent forgery, to prevent fraud from trade finance because of forgery in the paper documents. To sum it up, where we see in terms of the future of trade finance, especially with the effort of digitalization, first of all, it creates a lot of convenience, reducing of paperwork, especially in situations like this, where you have social distancing. It's very difficult for people to actually physically provide all the manual submission of documents from the clients. This is where digitalization actually comes in. Most importantly, we talk about fraud presentation. Supporting documents are transmitted directly from reliable sources, like for example, the shipping lines, government agencies, and hence these are data that could be trusted by the banks. The banks are assured that receiving this information is actually not subjected to any forgery. Data exchange across the platform electronically using technology like what we mentioned, blockchain. Apart from blockchain being started off from the fintech industry, we see a lot of blockchain application in the supply chain world today, enabling not only for automation, but a verified source of data. And finally, with all these digitalizations, we see about how data analytics could actually happen to prevent not only risk management, but also in terms of fraudulent cases, like for example, duplicated financing, and also for the central banks for their purpose of setting and monitoring policies. So in a nutshell, this is where we see the digitalization of trade finance moving towards too. And as I shared just now, I mean, we are quite honored to actually work together with RSBC, looking at how can we help manufacturers in the EAEU regions to bring products out of EAEU region into countries that within ASEAN, Singapore, or even other part of the world. But beyond the logistics and compliance issues, the trade finance part, the financial part, is also the next area that we are actually looking at collaboration. So that's all I have for my presentation. I'll probably leave any questions and answers back to the floor.
If I may question about the trade finance, the origin of the documents you're saying is coming from the trusted authorities like banks, authorities. So there is so it's basically a digital signature, nothing else, right? And your system acts as aggregator, but would it be possible to implement some sort of independent verification of the origin, the source of truth?
Yes. So essentially, there's a few areas. First of all is as you mentioned, the source of truth. Today, a lot of forgery happens because, for example, I have a bill of lading. So the bill of lading usually is issued by the shipping lines. It goes to the traders. The traders would, in a way, changes the documents and then submit to the bank. The banks have no way to verify that this bill of lading is a correct copy, is an authenticated copy. So where we bring in today is that instead of the traders submitting the bill of lading to the bank, is actually linked up to the shipping lines. So the shipping lines provide the bill of lading electronically, directly to the banks here, so that the banks could trust this source, that this is from a legitimate source.
Understood. I'm sorry. What I mean actually in this case is that if you use remote sensing, so for example, if you use satellite tracking, for example, of the same shipping process of the whole logistical chain, then you have independent source of truth that can be added to the certificate.
Yes,
and that's probably how it should be developing. Because yes, otherwise you don't need blockchain, because you still rely on the original document as a source of truth, which is correct.
In fact, there's another key area that there's a lot of areas of development right now. In this area, what we call the smart locks. The smart locks are basically IoT devices that actually replace the container seals. So traditionally, you have a container seal. With the smart lock, you actually have a GPS device inside it. It's also an IoT. So in a sense that it is able to track the location of the cargo movement. This could actually be a complementary into the whole ecosystem. Apart from the tracking of the documentary source, whether is it bill of lading, certificate of origin, the tracking of the physical cargo movement, using devices like the smart lock, as I mentioned just now. These are also an area of development that is actually ongoing in the industry right now.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
Коллеги, если к спикеру вопросов больше нет, я так понимаю, вопросов нет. Хорошо, в таком случае спасибо большое, господин Тей, за вашу крайне интересную и очень актуальную презентацию. И наш следующий спикер представляет радиоэлектронный комплекс Государственной корпорации Ростех. Предприятие РЭК, как многим из вас известно, производит широкий спектр и участвуют, помимо прочего, в проектах развития беспроводной связи 5G, промышленного интернета вещей, развития технологий блокчейна и других передовых технологий. И сейчас слово предоставляется нашему следующему спикеру, эксперту РЭК, руководителю проектов Марату Хабаеву.
Здравствуйте, коллеги. Меня зовут Хабаев Марат, я руководитель проектов госкорпорации Ростех, а именно радиоэлектронного кластера. Я хотел бы вам показать презентацию, наглядный пример некого взаимного сотрудничества разных R&D-центров по всему миру по созданию определенного продукта. Сейчас. На сегодняшний день мы сделали анализ. Этот анализ начался в 2014 году. Анализ атак на те или иные объекты, на те или иные компании. И мы увидели тенденцию, что с каждым годом атаки на инфраструктуру или на инфраструктурные компании все больше и больше растут с каждым годом. И на сегодняшний день мы даже сделали анализ и увидели, что в среднем где-то 206 дней могут происходить атаки, при этом сам пользователь или владелец критической инфраструктуры или компании даже этого не замечает. Соответственно, это приводит к потере, в потере как в деньгах, как во времени, и увеличение затрат на предотвращение тех или иных атак. Одним из направлений, которое стало в последнее время развиваться, это атаки на критическую инфраструктуру. Вроде бы казалось бы, что критическая инфраструктура – это в основном закрытый сегмент сети, закрытые сегменты, но несмотря на это, атакуют эти сегменты, вскрывают, воруют информацию, а иногда и могут управлять критической инфраструктурой. Также сейчас развивается мир интернета вещей и в промышленности, в медицине. Все больше и больше есть применение данных технологий, приложений, новых девайсов, которые все больше и больше насыщают промышленность и удаленное управление теми или иными объектами. Сейчас интернет вещей практически используется во всех инфраструктурных, да и, можно сказать, и неинфраструктурных отраслях. Это и транспорт, это и промышленность, это и финансы, это энергетика, медицина, это и безопасность. Сейчас, секунду. Наша команда была создана центром нашей команды, конечно, является радиоэлектронный кластер в Ростехе, но мы собрали команду по всему миру тех производителей, которые были озабочены или работали в направлении защиты критической инфраструктуры. На сегодняшний день команды есть в Израиле, есть в России, есть в Казахстане, есть в Италии. Это разные партнеры, разные команды, которые решили создать один единый совместный продукт для защиты критической инфраструктуры. Один из таких продуктов является дата-диод. При этом надо отметить, что производителей дата-диода в мире очень много. Даже в Сингапуре есть 2 производителя дата-диодов. Но проблема в том, что технология дата-диода до недавнего времени не могла передавать промышленные SCADA-протоколы, на которых работают, в принципе, вся энергетика и нефтяная отрасль, в принципе, в мире. Что такое технология дата-диода? Она, в принципе, это примитивно, в какой-то степени это односторонняя связь на физическом и программном уровне. И вот наша команда вместе в сотрудничестве с несколькими командами в разных частях мира сделали продукт, который может передавать через простейший девайс дата-диод сложные промышленные протоколы SCADA. В принципе, мы основывались на опыте из команд разных стран. Абсолютно мы не входили ни в одну компанию, а как бы каждый в своей отрасли или в своем регионе имел некие компетенции, которые мы собрали в один единый такой кейс и создали этот продукт. На сегодняшний день мы в том числе ищем и партнеров. Мы ездили в Малайзию. Это компании, которые работают в отрасли, которые работают в области защиты критической инфраструктуры, чтобы поделиться опытом, собрать некие компетенции и потом совместно создавать те или иные продукты. Вот здесь, на примере простого дата-диода мы показали, как это можно сделать. Вот, на сегодняшний день под разным брендом, вот сам продукт, это дата-диод, который передает эти протоколы, под разными брендами сейчас распространяется в разных странах. При этом это есть некий коллективный продукт, в котором собран компетенции из многих стран и компаний. Вот я хотел бы вкратце рассказать о таком коммерческом примере, то, что мы сделали, и основываясь, опять-таки, на взаимодействии с разными центрами разработки в разных странах. Например, к сожалению, не вошло сюда в презентацию, мы сейчас разрабатываем новый продукт, это по Гартнеру, по классификации Гартнера, это новый продукт Deception, это новое направление в Cyber Security. Опять-таки, мы собрали несколько R&D-центров, которые находятся не только в России, и в Европе, и в Азии, и обмениваясь опытом и компетенцией, создаем этот совместный продукт. И, в принципе, мир сейчас настолько глобализирован, и в каждом регионе есть некие свои компетенции и свой опыт по борьбе с теми или иными хакерскими атаками. И это интересно объединяться с такими R&D-центрами в Сингапуре, в Малайзии или в других странах, обмениваться опытом и создавать некие совместные продукты. Вот я хотел бы вкратце рассказать о нашей деятельности, что мы делаем, и было бы для нас интересно, в том числе, именно более на практике посотрудничать с такими R&D-центрами для создания тех или иных совместных продуктов в этой области. В принципе, вкратце так.
Дамы и господа, напоминаю, что вы можете задать какие-то вопросы. Что ж, если вопросов нет, тогда благодарю Марата Георгиевича за его содержательное выступление. И в завершении нашей сегодняшней сессии я рада предоставить слово руководителю компании, которая уже несколько лет является одним из ведущих партнеров РСДС в Сингапуре и Азиатско-Тихоокеанском регионе. Наш следующий спикер – это директор Operation Engineering госпожа Винни.
Thank you, Anna. And good evening, everybody. As we have already heard about all the R&D companies that conducted by all the MNC companies that are upfront by KAI, and also by the huge universities in Russia, in Singapore as well, and also the huge association of RSBC as well. And they have pumped a lot of monies into all these R&D facilities. So tonight, I would like to share how could a SME, SME stand for small and medium enterprises. How could a SME company like Progressions can outstand in these competitive environments and continue to grow, especially in this period of situations of COVID-19 pandemics. My name is Winnie. I'm the Director of Progressions Engineering as Private Limited, which is located in Singapore. And Progression is a SME and is also a center for overseas promotions of Russian's high-tech company, as well as presentations of investment projects here in Singapore. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has already reshaped all businesses in the world in ways that were unimaginable only a few months ago. Innovations has becoming the most important key issues for company success. In this competitive environment, it is necessary for the enterprises to put together different capabilities and services with the goal. It is widely accepted that innovations is better achieved by working in a team. That is what SME can do. In this promising digital world, the industry is under pressure to develop innovative R&D, to demonstrate differentiated value to customer, and to reduce costs and time to market, and to maximize returns of investment. As the industries continue looks for ways to improve the performance of today, R&D's model, many companies, inclusive of my company Progressions, are turning towards digital technologies. Most of them think of digital as a collection of technologies, platforms, and advanced analytics such as connected devices, mobile applications, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotic processors, and etc. As companies look to apply these technologies, either individually or in combinations to perform operational activities, it could, however, be useful to conceptualize digital not simply as a platform or technology, but as a way of doing things differently. In my view, digital provides opportunities to engage effectively with clients, requesters, customers through targeted omni-channel interactions to meet their needs and foster loyal relationships. Innovate by catalyzing the developments of products and services to deliver value for customers. Execute efficiently by digitizing and rationalizing processes to drive efficiency, cycle times reductions, and cost saving. Next slide, please. So, increased global competitions have urged small and medium enterprises to develop new products faster. Virtual R&D teams in SME can offer a solution to speed up time to market of new product developments like what MNC can do. Global and localized virtual R&Ds are believed to have high potentials for the growth of SME. They are the ones who believe to create the greatest competitive advantage from limited labor increasing. SME are not a scaled-down versions of large company, as they possess different characteristics which distinguish them from large corporations. SME vary across different countries and cultures, and they are independent, multitask, and cash limited, as well as based on personal relationships and informality. Additionally, SME are managed actively by the owners, highly personnel, largely localized within their areas of operations, and are largely dependent on internal sources for financial growth. In order to survive in the global economy, SME like progression company have to improve our products and processes by exploiting our intellectual capitals in a dynamic network of knowledge-intensive relations inside and outside our borders. Therefore, if small firms intend to create a step change in their technological and innovation base, they may have to rethink their approach to corporations. SME need to cooperate with external partners to compensate for other competencies and resources. This is especially the case for R&D, in which SME face specific problems compared with large firms. SMEs are knowledge creators, however, they are poor in knowledge retention. They need to be proactive in knowledge sharing arrangements to recognize that knowledge has value and the value added is derived from knowledge exchange. Virtual R&D teams can provide such knowledge sharing. Virtual R&D team is a form of virtual team which includes the features of virtual teams and concentrates on R&D activities. The members of a virtual R&D team utilize different degrees of communications technology to complete the research without space, time, and organizational boundaries. Virtual teams are a small temporary groups of geographically, organizationally, or time-dispersed knowledge workers who coordinate their work predominantly with electronic information and communications technologies in order to accomplish one or more organization tasks. There is a general movement towards virtual R&D teams, as virtual R&D teams facilitates the spreading of risk and sharing of costs among a network of companies. Hence, virtual teams are important mechanism for organizations such as SME, seeking to leverage scarce resources across geographic and other boundaries. Now, due to communications technology improvement and continued globalization, virtual teams have increased rapidly worldwide. Virtual teams are assumed to be part of normal business life. It is commonly agreed that virtual teams produce a greater quantity of ideas and information than individuals acting alone. So, relaying with virtual team, it can bring new opportunity to facilitate technology creations and innovations in enterprises. Next slide, please. Sorry, I can't control over my slide. Okay. Due to the fast-growing complexity of new products coupled with new emerging opportunities of virtual teams, a collaborative approach is believed to be the future trend. Let me come back to emphasize the characteristic of visual team. They are driven by common purpose, and it is not a permanent team. It's a small team size enabled by communication technology, geographically dispersed over different time zones. Involved in cross-boundary collaborations, team members are knowledge workers. Team members may belong to different companies. Next slide, please. Despite the enormous benefit of employing virtual R&D teams in manufacturing SME, the applications of virtual teams by most enterprises is still in its infancy. Let me share with you one simple example, how my company Progressions had done and accomplished some activities to reduce costs during these pandemic situations. First, when we receive project from requester, we arrange virtual network supplier. In return, the virtual network supplier arrange their R&D teams for our orders, and our R&D departments will manage overall activity so that we can reduce manpower over here. And let us look at some of the advantages that are associated with virtual team. Next slide, please. Sorry, up. One more, up. Disadvantages, one more. Yes, thank you. Yes, these are some of the advantages that are associated with virtual team. Reduce R&D cost and time. Cost saving, time saving, and great convenience. This will enhance flows of the projects of a company and speed up the progress of the work. Facilitate decisions making, assess the current workload, improve performance. Virtual team system of two is effective and is capable of attracting expert and knowledge workers to contribute to a more effective R&D. Enhances the flow of projects of a company and meets customer satisfaction, increases performance, improve work environment, expedite product outcome, and demonstrate a positive annual trend towards a better output. Increased coordinations will bring us closer and to have a good connections between the entire assets of organizations. This virtual team strategies has many advantages, but it presents its own set of managerial challenges. Working online is less formalized, and companies frequently lack clear policies on how to manage virtually. Next slide, please. And there is, of course, some disadvantages with the virtual team. First, a lack of physical interactions. Challenges of project management are more related to the distance between team members than to their culture or language differences. Challenges of determining the appropriate task technology that fit. Cultural and functional diversity in virtual team lead to differences in the members' thought processes, and tasks it develop trust among the members are challenging. And it will create challenges and obstacles like technophobia. What is technophobia? The employees who are uncomfortable with computers and other telecommunications technologies. Variety of practices, culture and work process diversity, and employee mobility negatively impacted performance in virtual teams. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I will skip this slide. Yeah. So, in conclusion, virtual R&D teams give better team output, reduce time to market, reduce travel costs, and demonstrate their ability to tap selectively into centers of excellence. Additionally, virtual R&D teams enable the use of the best talent regardless of locations, giving a greater degree of freedom to individuals. Shorter development time and quicker response to changing business environment, as well as higher team effectiveness and coordination. Therefore, the decision for setting up virtual R&D teams in SME is not a choice, but a necessity to survive. This will create agile manufacturing environments and enterprises, I believe. I end my presentations here, and thank you everyone for your time. If you have any questions, I would like to answer. If there is no question, I will pass to Anna.
Большое спасибо за интереснейший и действительно актуальный доклад. Но, к сожалению, дамы и господа, наша сессия на этом подошла к концу. Мне бы хотелось поблагодарить экспертов за крайне содержательные выступления, а гостей за внимание и интересную дискуссию. Запись сегодняшнего вебинара скоро будет доступна на официальном сайте Российско-Сингапурского Делового Совета, а также на платформе RS Trade. И мы будем рады